One game, one unforgettable moment, and millions of baseball fans expected what happened next. The final minutes changed baseball forever. Stay until the end.
One game, one unbelievable moment, and millions of baseball fans who couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. It wasn't the World Series. It wasn't Game 7. Yet by the end of the night, the entire baseball world was talking about only one thing. What really happened during those final moments? Why did thousands of fans inside the stadium suddenly fall completely silent? And why are people still replaying this game years later? Stay until the end, because the final scene changed everything. Welcome to Diamond Shocked. The stadium was already packed long before the first pitch. Every seat was filled. Fans wore team jerseys. Children held baseball gloves, hoping to catch a souvenir ball. Television crews prepared for another exciting night. Commentators expected a close battle between two talented teams. Nothing seemed unusual. Everything looked like a normal MLB game. But sometimes, history begins on the most ordinary nights. As the first inning started, both teams played with incredible energy. Pitchers attacked the strike zone. Hitters battled through every at-bat. The crowd cheered after every big play. The game remained scoreless. Neither team wanted to make the first mistake. Every inning increased the tension. Every pitch carried more pressure. By the fourth inning, the pitchers were completely dominating. Strikeout after strikeout. The scoreboard barely changed. Fans started realizing they might be watching something very special. The television broadcast began showing historic statistics. Commentators whispered, "We may be witnessing one of the greatest pitching performances of the season." The excitement inside the stadium grew stronger. Nobody wanted to leave their seat. Then, everything suddenly changed. A powerful swing sent the baseball screaming toward deep center field. The entire stadium jumped to its feet. The outfielder sprinted backward. Closer, closer. He leaped high above the warning track. For one breathtaking second, nobody knew if the baseball would leave the park. The crowd held its breath. Then, an unbelievable catch. The stadium exploded. Fans couldn't believe what they had just seen. The replay looked impossible. Sports broadcasters immediately called it one of the greatest defensive plays of the season. But surprisingly, that wasn't the moment people would remember forever. The biggest shock was still coming. The unbelievable catch changed the entire atmosphere. The crowd was still cheering. The players were still shaking their heads. Even the commentators admitted they had never expected such a play. But baseball has a strange way of creating even bigger surprises. The game moved into the seventh inning. Neither team wanted to blink. Every pitch felt heavier. Every swing carried enormous pressure. The scoreboard still showed almost nothing. One mistake could decide everything. The manager slowly walked toward the mound. Thousands of fans watched carefully. Would he replace his ace pitcher? Or trust him to finish the job? After a long conversation, he walked back to the dugout. The pitcher stayed. The crowd erupted into applause. Now the pressure became even greater. The first batter stepped into the box. 3 pitches later. Strike 3. The stadium exploded. 1 out. The next hitter wasn't intimidated. He worked the count full. 3 balls. 2 strikes. The entire stadium became silent. The pitcher delivered a blazing fastball. Crack. The baseball rocketed down the third baseline. It looked fair. Fans jumped from their seats. But at the very last second, the ball curved just outside the foul line. The batter couldn't believe it. Neither could the crowd. 1 pitch later. Another strikeout. 2 outs. Only 1 remained. The tension inside the stadium became unbearable. Thousands of fans stood without moving. Nobody was talking anymore. Children held their parents' hands. Television cameras captured nervous faces throughout the stadium. The final batter slowly approached home plate. He had already hit 2 home runs against this pitcher earlier in the season. Everyone knew, if anyone could ruin history, it was him. The first pitch, ball 1. The second pitch, a fastball at the top of the strike zone. Strike 1. The batter smiled. He knew the battle had only begun. The next pitch, a devastating slider. Swing and miss. Strike 2. The stadium shook with excitement. History was now only one strike away. The pitcher took a deep breath. The catcher gave the signal. Everything became silent. The final pitch left his hand at incredible speed. The batter swung with everything he had. The baseball flew high into the night sky. For one terrifying second, nobody knew where it would land. The outfielder sprinted backward. Closer, closer. The entire stadium held its breath. The baseball continued to fall. The glove reached into the air. And then, everything stopped. The entire stadium froze. The baseball continued falling from the dark night sky. Thousands of eyes followed it. The outfielder raced toward the warning track. One more step, then another. He leaped with everything he had. For one endless second, nobody knew if the ball would land inside the glove or disappear over the wall. Then, the glove slammed shut.
Out.
The stadium exploded into absolute chaos. More than 40,000 fans erupted at once. Fireworks lit up the night sky. Teammates rushed onto the field. The pitcher dropped to his knees in pure emotion. He couldn't believe what had just happened. The catcher sprinted across the diamond and embraced him. The crowd continued cheering for several minutes. Even the opposing players walked over to offer their respect. Because moments like this don't belong to one team. They belong to baseball itself. Television commentators shouted, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have just witnessed one of the greatest games in Major League Baseball history." The replay appeared again and again. The unbelievable catch. The perfect pitches. The final out. Every angle looked even more incredible than the last. Within minutes, sports networks around the world interrupted their regular programming. The highlights spread across every social media platform. Millions of baseball fans watched the ending repeatedly. Some couldn't believe the defense. Others praised the incredible pitching performance. Former MLB legends joined the conversation. This is why we love baseball. You may never see another finish like this. Young players watching at home suddenly dreamed of standing on a major league field one day. Not for fame, not for money, but for a moment like this. Because baseball has always been different. One swing, one catch, one pitch can become immortal. Years later, fans may forget the final score, but they will never forget the silence before the final catch, or the explosion of joy that followed. That unforgettable night reminded the world why baseball is called one of the greatest games ever played. Because until the very last pitch, anything is possible. One unbelievable moment can become history forever. And that is exactly what happened on this unforgettable night. Thank you for watching Diamond Shocked. If you enjoyed this incredible MLB story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more shocking baseball stories, legendary moments, unbelievable records, and unforgettable MLB history. See you in the next episode of Diamond Shocked.